Some people live in that state for years in jobs that they're not well aligned with, and then they get very burned out, and it really affects their health, their relationships. You have to take ownership in your mindset for the life that you want, the career that you want. If you can't envision it and feel it yourself, you're not going to make it happen in the material world. The more you learn about yourself, the more success you will have in your career, because you'll have clarity on who you are, what you bring to the table, what kind of role is a good fit for you. I think it's really the alignment of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. When one of those is not aligned, we feel stuck. Nothing happens. We don't really change.
Hello, and welcome to a new episode of The Career Changers. Our guest today is Lorraine Rise, career coach, speaker, and author of What You Didn't Learn in School. After leaving corporate America, she built a successful coaching business that helps mid and late career professionals overcome fear and align their work with their values. Today, we will discuss her career journey and how to harness the power of manifestation to unlock your potential. Lorraine, we are so thrilled to have you here. Welcome to the Career Changers.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and share my journey and connect with your listeners. Thank you.
So let's start to discover something about your background. Where did you grow up and what was your dream job when you were a child?
So I grew up right here in the town that I'm in. I'm in Northern Virginia, just outside our nation's capital here in the US, outside DC. So I'm still here where I was born and raised. What I wanted to be when I was a kid, I knew very early on that I was going to be in the office environment in some way. When I was a kid, my toys were office supplies, right? I would always have a desk set out. I wanted to be the boss or be the teacher or something. So I was always very career minded from a very young age. But of course, as I grew up, that morphed and changed. And as I started to learn more about myself and my values and where I really wanted to be working. So just in summation, I started out more in the wellness field, working for a major weight loss company here in the United States. So I worked for them for the first couple of years and really fell in love with my employees, training them, hiring them, promoting them. And that got me in eventually into human resources and recruiting, which I'm still in today. But along the way in my HR career, I also had some experiences that really prompted me to want to start my own business, and I did. So I have entrepreneurship in there as well. So 10 years ago, I started Career Uprising, and I started doing coaching and resume writing for executives and various levels of clients in all different fields. So one way or another, my career has been helping people get hired, helping people find careers that they love, whether it's through recruiting and human resources or through my coaching practice. And one way or another, that is what I love to do.
And so, did you have a specific time in your career where you felt, okay, this is the moment where I want to leave corporate America?
Yes, I did. Starting my business and going out on my own was an idea that I had for a while, but I really wasn't brave enough to act on it. I didn't do anything about it. It was just an idea that I had until 2015. I got into a position that I was not a good fit for. It was a very toxic environment. I was very unhappy and not well aligned at all with the culture of the company. But I took it because I was unemployed and I needed a job, right? I needed something as fast as possible. It only lasted about 3 months, and I got fired from that job, which ended up being the best thing that ever happened to me. And I started my practice right then and there. I said, I'm not going to go through this again, and I don't want other people to go through this. So that was really the impetus for me to become an entrepreneur, start Career Uprising, and go in a completely different direction.
There must have been such a difficult time. Misalignment, it can cause a lot of pain generally.
Yes, and I didn't last that long. I was only in that job for about 3 months. Some people live in that state for years in jobs that they're not well aligned with, and then they get very burned out, and it really affects their health, their relationships. It affects every area of your life when you're not aligned with the right company or the right job. Absolutely.
So you've gathered many clients through fear and uncertainty. Looking back, what fears did you have to overcome when building your business?
Oh, many, because I was very young. I was only about 30 years old. at the time that I did this. I didn't have that, but maybe 8 years of working experience in the corporate world before I went out on my own. So it was very intimidating because many of the clients that I had were twice my age. They were my father's age. And I was coaching them on what to do in their careers. So there was a lot of imposter syndrome to get through with that, feeling like people would listen to what I had to say. And then, of course, I had to charge for my services to make money. So that was very scary to put a price tag on my knowledge. And I charged very little when I started because I didn't have a lot of confidence. But I was willing to get started. And that was the most important thing. I was willing to push through that fear because the other option was, after being fired, go back and try to find another job and try to explain to my next employer what had happened, and I just didn't want to do that. So I had enough motivation to push through that fear and just get started, at least on a small level, and then grow it from there, which I have done. Of course, the business has evolved tremendously over the last decade, but there was a lot of fear, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of, am I too young? Are people going to take me seriously? How am I going to get clients? I had to work through all of that. And it was a process over years that I had to get better and better at it. Absolutely.
Mm. So you're the author of What You Didn't Learn in School. What gaps did you notice in traditional education or corporate training that inspired you to write this book?
Yeah, I titled it that because the life skills that I teach coaching clients really aren't taught in school. How to promote yourself, how to search for a job, how to interview and communicate in interviews and articulate your value and your strengths. It's really not something that people graduate with. They have all the book knowledge, but they don't necessarily have the confidence and the life skills to go out there and pursue their career. And a lot of people, even older clients, really have a hard time talking about themselves, talking about their accomplishments. They feel like they're not supposed to brag about what the things that they've done, but it's necessary in order to get a job. You have to be able to talk about yourself and your skills. So that's something a lot of people feel very uncomfortable with. So the book is a collection of 30 lessons from my career as well as my clients. It's a compilation of both career and life lessons that I just wanted to put together all in one place. And after a number of years in business, I asked myself, what have I learned? What do I know after all these years in business? So I put it all together in a book.
And so, what are the three most important things we didn't learn in school?
I would say one is advocating for yourself. If you want to succeed and move up the ladder or achieve anything in life, you have to be willing to be your own advocate. You have to see your own worth. You have to believe in yourself. You have to be able to communicate your strengths. And it's a skill you have to work on over time. It's not just going to happen when you snap your fingers. So that's one of the biggest things that I talk about. I also have chapters on imposter syndrome, what it means, how to deal with it, how normal it is that we all feel it. A lot of times I think when we feel imposter syndrome, we interpret that to mean that's bad and that's wrong and I shouldn't go do that because I'm not good enough, but that's not what it means. So I think learning how to work through that imposter syndrome is incredibly important as well. And then I think the third thing is the book touches a lot on mindset and manifestation. You have to take ownership in your mindset for the life that you want, the career that you want. If you can't envision it and feel it yourself, you're not going to make it happen in the material world. So I talk a lot about how to approach your career from a different mindset and be mindful of how you're showing up for your career as well.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to recognize that there are skills that actually are not learned in schools. And fortunately, there are people like you that can support us during our journey to self-realization. Because sometimes when we leave school, we may achieve some success and then realize that maybe we want to change our direction or feel confused and lost. So it's really important to understand that there is so much more to learn about ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. The more you learn about yourself, the more success you will have in your career because you'll have clarity on who you are, what you bring to the table, what kind of role is a good fit for you. Many people out there are in roles that are not a good fit for them, but they just keep doing it because it's what they've always done.
So let's talk about the power of manifestation. You emphasize manifestation as a practical tool, not just wishful thinking. How do you define manifestation in your own words?
That's a great question. I think it's really the alignment of your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions, right? All three of them really want to be aligned in the same direction in order to bring into your life whatever it is you want. Many of us are walking around thinking one thing but doing another, right? Or thinking and hoping for one thing but not actually feeling or believing that it's actually going to happen, right? So when one or more of those is not aligned, we feel stuck. Nothing happens, right? We don't really change. We're thinking we want something, but we're not taking the action. Or we're taking the action and going through the motions, but we don't really think anything's going to happen. We're just doing it. That's when people get stuck and stagnant and nothing changes in life. But when you can get everything aligned, you can think and visualize for what you want. You can feel it and believe that you deserve it and start getting excited for it, and then take the actions to make it happen. It's only a matter of time before it's going to happen. So that's what manifestation is to me. It's alignment of thoughts, feelings, and actions all in the same direction over a period of time, and feeling into that future self that you know that is going to have that job or have that promotion or whatever you want right now before it happens. Yeah.
It's really interesting. And how do you think the false feelings and action, how do you think misalignment can happen? I guess you think you want something, but you feel different about it, or you
Yeah.
feel and you think, but then you don't take the right action.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, and it's normal. A lot of times people will be out there job searching, and but maybe they're taking the action, maybe they're applying for jobs, but they have a really negative mindset. Like they don't really, they just become maybe jaded or disillusioned because they've been job searching for so long and can't find anything. So they're doing the right actions, but they're bringing this really negative limiting mindset of this is hard, no one's going to hire me, I hate this, whatever it is. That is going to keep them stuck, because what they really think and feel is that this is hard and this is difficult and it's not going to work. So that's a great example right there. I also work with a lot of people who are older, so 50, 60 plus, and they're worried about age discrimination. So again, maybe they're out there applying for jobs, but all the while telling themselves this negative story that I'm too old, no one's going to want to hire me. So they don't really have the beliefs and the expectations. And it also affects their self-confidence as well. So it affects how they show up in the job search.
So, what role has manifestation played in your own personal and professional transformation?
Oh, it's everything. And it's the only reason that I've had any of the success that I have had. It's the reason that you and I are here today talking. I've had to completely reevaluate all my beliefs, right? What I believe is realistic or what I believe is possible. That definition has changed tremendously over the last 10 years as an entrepreneur. What I thought was realistic when I first started, I've blown away all of those expectations and now have higher goals. I've really had to just ask myself, what is my energy? How am I showing up for this? How can I align myself with the things that I want? So I had to align myself with the feeling and the energy of being an entrepreneur and all the things that comes with that, whatever the goal is. But this is a practice that I've had in addition to things like meditation, visualization. Those are all a big part of my practice as well, and have been for probably 20 years or so.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So, for people who are skeptical or simply unsure where to begin, how can they start to integrate manifestation into their career growth?
Yeah, I would start with something really small, right? Don't start with a big life goal. Start with little day-to-day things. Even just being mindful of your energy and your mindset when you approach a conversation with somebody that you think might be difficult in your relationships. Or maybe you have a situation that you work that you don't want to. Changing how you show up for that and the energy that you bring will give immediate results, and you instantly will start to manifest something completely different. So start with something small that's very low stakes and just practice it, and be expecting to see and feel different things when you show up differently with a different mindset and a different energy to each situation. So I would just say practice it with small things in your daily life.
And do you have one or two exercises that have helped your clients reconnect with what truly matters to them?
I would say find some kind of meditation or visualization practice. There's lots of apps out there too, because we also have to quiet the inner noise as well as and then the talk in our head a little bit. So I would find something you can listen to and just start some, or maybe a journaling practice. I'm a big fan of that as well. Some kind of grounding practice to help you set goals, get your feelings out, and just be a little bit more intentional about how you are showing up in different situations. But those are some practices I love. I would say journaling, visualization, and meditation.
So we live in a world that rewards status more than authenticity. How can someone align their job search or career goals with their values?
Yeah, a lot of people don't really stop and think about what their values are, right? There's evidence of them all around every day, but we often don't stop and think, what are my core values? There's a couple of things you can do. Just do a lot of evaluation of yourself. So, for example, the things that you love at work, the things that you enjoy, what are those things and what is it about them that you love? There's probably a core value behind that. And likewise, what are the things that bother you, that you feel misaligned with, that you don't like? That could be the opposite, right? That can mean there's a core value missing there. One of my core values is communication. I absolutely value people who communicate well, communicate promptly, and can communicate in a professional way. I have found that to just be a trend. So you have to just look for the trends and ask yourself what you love and what you don't love and what core value might be behind that. So thinking about jobs you've had in the past that you absolutely love, why did you love them? What was it about that? And how can you recreate that again in the future?
That's so interesting. And I guess if you identify that you're not aligned with certain values, with some other, yes, what should you do? Is that
Mhm.
still a good fit for you?
Sometimes there might be a way to change that current situation. It doesn't always mean you have to go out and find a new job. It depends on, is this something that can be rectified? Do I need to change my communication approach with this person? Or maybe do I just need a different role within the same organization? Sometimes you can transform your current situation to align a little bit better, but just identifying what your own values are and giving that some thought is step one. Then only we can start making decisions. Okay, now that I know what I value, can I find that in some way where I'm at? If not, sometimes then we do have to go out and find a new job and make sure we're looking for evidence of those values at the new job so we don't repeat it and find the same problems all over again.
So you gave many advice to our listeners, but we reached the end of this episode. First of all, is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to add?
I would just sum up by saying the most important thing you can do is really to know yourself. Spend before you start a job search or try to make a change in your career, make sure you know very clearly why you want to make that change. There's different types of career changes, and before you make a change, you really want to do that self introspection to make sure that it's a meaningful change.
Hmm. And now, really, the last question that we asked all of our guests. If you could go back at the beginning of your career and give yourself one piece of advice, what would it?
Oh, wow. I think it would be to trust my intuition. Probably I'm a very intuition driven person. I make a lot of big decisions that way, including career decisions. So I think that listening to that inner voice and trusting my gut to make help me make decisions, I think you can't go wrong with that.
Thank you, Lorraine, so much for sharing your incredible journey and insights with us today.
Yeah.
And the last message to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and tune in next week for a new inspirational episode of the Career Changers. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.